How are you doing today? I hope you're well. Today, I'd like to talk about the making of a leader. So, today at church, we read the story. We're doing a series on the life of Joseph and his story. And today, we read Genesis 39, 1 to the end, but there was an emphasis on verses 1 to 6 and 19 to 23. I was just checking. What stood out to me, and the reason why I thought I would bring this, there are a few things that stood out to me, but what I want to focus on today is the making of a leader, the trials and testing that Joseph had to go through to become a leader that had that was full of mercy, full of love, compassion, um, just all the characteristics he would need um, for the destination, for what the Lord wanted to use him for, basically. When he was sold into Egypt as a slave, he ended up, obviously, as you know. I'm just going to summarize for those that don't know. But the story of Joseph is that he was sold by his brothers as a slave um, to Egypt. He ended up in the house of Potiphar, and Potiphar made him a leader. Even though he was a servant leader, he was a leader in the home of Potiphar, and he ruled over everything until he was accused by the wife, wrongfully accused by the wife that he tried to sleep with her. He was thrown into prison. Whilst he was in prison, the head of the prison made him a leader to oversee all the affairs and operations of the prison, and then eventually he was, pardoned and became the second-hand man in the whole of Egypt. I was pardoned, released, and became the second-hand man in the whole of Egypt. That's a summary, a very quick summary. However, every every step of the way and every trial, the testing, and every process he went through taught him a lesson, taught him different things he would need, behaviors, attitudes, um, a way of thinking, a way of being that made him that person that was, obviously there was definitely God's favor, don't get me wrong, but God was shaping him and teaching him to become who he wanted him to be as he, went through all the different trials. You know, he became a man of integrity because Potiphar's wife wanted to, basically wanted to defile him and he wouldn't have him. Um, he was a person of honesty, a person of integrity. He was a person of compassion because he had been broken. He had been, you know, basically taught hard lessons as he, went through lots of suffering. We didn't hear a lot about the suffering, but being thrown into a pit, there'll be trauma, pit by your brothers, by your own relatives. There'll be trauma that he had to go through. So he would have had to learn forgiveness. He'd have had to, because when he saw his family many, many years later, after he'd become this high-ranking official in Egypt, he forgave them. He had forgiven them. He had moved past the hurt, the harm they caused him to the point where he could say the things he said and was able to be a blessing to them. So I say all of this to say that don't ignore the process that God might be taking you through. It might be really tough, but don't ignore that process. You definitely are destined for some great place. And if you don't, if your character is not, you know, shaped and basically good enough, that can be basically, what's the word I'm looking for? If your character is not good enough and not right, you will you will err. You will do the wrong thing under pressure. Because you see, the pressure that you'd have gone through during the process of your trials and testing would have shaped you to become this person that's got, a good character, able to stand even if you're standing alone, stand on truth, stand on integrity, honesty. Would have taught you how to deal with people, uh, good or bad. I mean, people, whether they're good or bad. It would have taught you how to behave and how to act towards people, no matter, you know, where they're coming from and what their intentions might be. All these things you would need in a place of great authority. You will need it. You need to know how to carry yourself and how to behave appropriately in offices of authority. So don't try and take a shortcut. Go through the process of your trials and testing because you're being prepared to be a great leader. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and comment. God bless you. Bye.